Good morning and welcome to BeeferLink TV, your daily dose of industry information. This episode is the final part of our insurance series, and Matthew Phillips from Breeze joins us to explain an alternative way of obtaining cargo insurance. So firstly, good morning Matthew, thank you for joining us.
Hi Natalie, thank you for having me.
Would you like to give us a bit of a background as to the story of Breeze and the story so far and what's next?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Matthew Phillips, the co-founder and chief commercial officer at Breeze. In short, we're a digital cargo insurance provider, bringing cargo insurance to the modern age, and I'm sure we'll get into more detail during our discussion.
Sure. So can you tell us how the cargo insurance market has evolved over the last few years?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's three key areas that we've seen over the past few years. I think firstly, the industry has started to embrace digital technology. And the growth in this technology adoption has enabled the distribution of insurance to become faster, simpler to understand, and therefore more efficient. I think these changes have brought significant cost savings and huge amounts of time back to the industry, allowing businesses to essentially focus on their customers and the delivery of their overall service. I think the second area is almost a tangent of the first, as cargo insurance can now be fully embedded into existing workflows of the freight forwarders.
Sure.
It no longer has to be a standalone product, taking the operators away from their core focus of their day-to-day jobs. And this brings a huge amount of operational efficiency to the overall process, removing admin tasks and manual data entry. I think the final area that I'd probably touch on is that the overall industry, and in particular cargo owners, are much more aware of the day-to-day risks and perils of being underinsured, or worse still, not insured at all.
Sure.
I think there's been a number of global events like Ever Given or the Baltimore Bridge situation that brings this focus into the mainstream. And let's remember, still today, around 70% of global cargo moves around the world either under or uninsured. And in many of those cases, shippers aren't aware that their shipment isn't fully insured. So I think that general change and shift has been happening over the last couple of years.
Sure. That's a major statistic right there, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what differentiates Breeze from a traditional insurance offering in the cargo space?
So I think we tend to focus on seamless embedded integrations. I think unlike many traditional players who've been doing it for many years in the same fashion, we allow for cargo cover to be distributed in a embedded, fully digital way that doesn't require any changes or adjustments to existing workflows. Gone are the days where people need to perhaps phone an insurance broker or fill out long forms, taking a lot of admin, a lot of time away from their day to day. Speed and operational efficiency have become the main focus, and that is through from getting your quote all the way through to binding a policy in seconds, all at a click of a button. And I think in many customer cases, people want an automated solution where
Yeah.
they don't even have to think about it. It's just done in the background, essentially using the technology to their benefit.
Sure.
I think also cost of distribution is extremely low from a Breeze perspective, and as a result, we're able to pass these savings onto our customers. I think there's a high cost when you have a lot of humans operating things behind the scenes, and because we're technology led, we can tend to be more efficient in that regard. And I think flexibility is probably the key final aspect, and trying to be adaptable to different customers' insurance needs, should we say. And what we've done at Breeze is really focus on a shipment by shipment risk. So you're only really truly paying for what you need to get the most comprehensive cover in the market.
Sure. So in terms of the Breeze system itself, how easy is it to use to insure your goods?
So you would expect me to say easy, and it really is. It really couldn't be easier and simpler. I think, as quoted by numerous times from many of our well-established freight forwarder partners. I think we really focus on providing a really rounded, customer-obsessed built service, essentially really tailored from a product development perspective to each individual partners of ours needs. As we know, freight forwarders, they all use different systems, different TMSs, different ERPs, and what we've done at Breeze is really try and adapt that to each individual partner. I think where we see ourselves in the kind of the cog of the logistics chain is helping the forwarder essentially provide a much more holistic service to their shippers, allowing the forwarder to get lots of jobs and tasks around the shipments done in one place. Cargo insurance no longer has to be a cumbersome task and a disruption to actually closing out the movement of the shipment. It can just be a natural add-in from that perspective. And this essentially means that the freight forwarder is able to sell more insurance, which essentially translates into happier, fully insured customers if claims happen, but also becomes a strong revenue source for them. And I think the final thing I'd just say on that topic is before actually starting Breeze, myself and my partners, we actually worked as a freight forwarder. And this was to really help us understand the inner workings of the industry.
Sure.
And allowed us to almost educate ourselves on what was needed and where the gaps were. So I think kind of simplicity, ease of use, and flexibility are key for why we've built a kind of a multivariate product in our offering that is able to be tailored to each individual partner that we work with. And I think our kind of MO as a business is always, how can we ensure there's minimal change to each of our partners' operating flows? And that's why we've built what we've built today.
Sure. And onto the claims process. So we know that sometimes claims are needed and they do happen. What are the benefits of a digital claims handling process?
So great question. I think this has evolved a lot over the last couple of years. I think either forwarders or the shippers have always dreaded claims processes. There's always seems to be lots of admin and times to actually get claims to be settled. I think from a Breeze perspective, our goal has always been to process claims as quickly and as efficiently as possible with, I'd say, constant communication both to the forwarder and to the shipper, so everyone is aware of what's going on throughout the whole process.
Sure.
And we provide a digital claims process that essentially is embedded into the freight forwarder's workflow. And that's from the initial claim submission through to actually receiving payment. And just like any, I'd say, kind of traditional insurance claims process, the key is communication. Being fast, efficient, and overly communicative are really where we focus. And I think it's important that within the digital process, you allow for the maximum information to be shared at the earliest possible stage in the easiest possible way. So we have a really, really simple flow that allows either the forwarder or the shipper to submit documents digitally. Maybe it's photos of the claim, and that just allows for a much more seamless overall offering. And I think ultimately, and I'll probably say in conclusion, partners, either forwarders or shippers, they want claims settled as quickly as possible. And while naturally, look, some claims obviously take a little bit longer due to their nature and they're a little bit more complicated, we as Breeze have been able to back up the benefits of offering this digital claims process. I think with our quickest claim being paid, I think within hours of submission from the initial claim coming in. So it really, really puts the customer at the forefront and making sure they have a seamless offering. Ultimately, when you purchase insurance, if things go wrong, you want to make sure that it steps in and makes you fully covered.
Of course. That makes perfect sense to me. Thank you very much, Matthew, for your time this morning. I'm sure our members will find this episode really insightful.
Thank you so much, Natalie.
If you'd like more information about Breeze, you can visit their website. We'll pop the link to their website in this video's description. That's all for today's episode of BeForLink TV, your daily dose of industry information.